Hi there, this is Julie Flygare, and I am the president and CEO of Project Sleep. And I'm going to give you guys a few minutes because I have a feeling it'll take people a few seconds to find this. So I'm going to enjoy some coffee really quick. Yay, someone's on. You found us. Hi, Amanda. Just giving people a few minutes to get on. Welcome. Hi, Amy. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Julie Flygare, and I am the president and CEO of Project Sleep. And I want to wish you guys a warm and happy Sleep Awareness Week. Happy Suddenly Sleepy Saturday for Narcolepsy Awareness Day, and happy Sleep In 2018. So just enjoying some coffee here in a Sleep In mug that was made for me by my friend Chiro up in Canada. So I hope you guys are doing well. I know in Australia it might be evening time, and we have some people participating in the Sleep In from Australia. So happy evening to you, and good afternoon to people on the East Coast. And if you're out here in California like I am, good morning. So thank you again for joining me today. And I just wanted to start by answering a really simple question, which is, why are we sleeping in? I've been doing this for 4 years now. This is our 4th Sleep In. And still, I was just talking to a neighbor last night, and he said, wait, what are you doing? What is this with your bed and sleeping in? And so I explained, well, actually 40 to 70 million Americans are living with sleep conditions. So that's a lot of people, and 1 in every 2,000 people, or 200,000 Americans are living with narcolepsy. And so here's these things that are happening, but they're so invisible oftentimes that we're not taking the time to talk about them and celebrate them. And I had previously run some marathons to raise money for different causes, and was really, I thought, and I ran sleepwalk events around the country as well. And oftentimes when we do the sleepwalks, people would say, oh, it's so early in the morning, why can't you make it later in the day? And then, it seemed to be that if our message is about rest and sleep, why don't we do something restful? And so that was part of where the idea for the Sleep In event. And, I guess for me, I always think, oh gosh, it's going to be the whole weekend, because of course I'm going to, pledge 48 hours. But it's funny how every time it goes by so quickly, and it is so much fun. And that is a big part, thanks to you guys for participating. So I don't know how many of you guys have participated in all 4 years, 3 years, 2, or if this is your first Sleep In. We're glad to have all of you. So thanks again for participating. And it's really important that we're connecting with each other, I think, as well, because when we feel so isolated, I think that ends up making us feel like, yeah, this is just not an empowering experience at all. And also giving you guys an opportunity to fundraise while you sleep. So thank you so much for those of you that are raising funds for Project Sleep. You're doing an amazing job, and I'm just so grateful, and everyone at Project Sleep is to help keep our programs going, so which we will talk about more on this broadcast. So with that, I think I'm going to move into talking a little bit about awareness. So today I'm going to be talking about both narcolepsy goals and sleep condition goals, both of those things. But I have an exciting announcement that you guys are actually the first ones to hear. Project Sleep is going to be announcing right now, we are announcing, and I will put out a formal announcement as well afterwards, that we are setting some pretty bold organizational goals, and especially in the narcolepsy space. So we're setting a goal to increase the percentage of adults who have heard about narcolepsy to 80% by 2025. So right now, the percentage of adults in America who have heard of narcolepsy is at 70%, 70. So that's just they've heard of the word. And that's pretty low compared to some other conditions. So for example, something like diabetes is around 80%. So one of our big vision goals is to increase the percentage of adults who have heard about narcolepsy to 80% by 2025. A second goal is to then, of course, the whole point of making sure that people have heard of narcolepsy is that we end up reducing the delays to proper diagnosis. So right now, the proper diagnosis delays, there's a bunch of different studies that look at this, and so I reviewed all the studies. It seems to be between an average of 8 to 15 years delay from symptom onset to diagnosis. And again, that varies by different studies, but yeah, that's pretty much unacceptable. I'm sure you guys understand that. So our goal will be to reduce the delays in proper diagnosis to an average of 2 years by 2030. So I know it's an aggressive, big goal, and it's going to take a whole community to do that. It's not going to just take Project Sleep. It's going to take other nonprofit organizations along with other key stakeholders, clinicians, researchers, drug developers. I mean, this is going to take a lot of different people participating in this effort. But Project Sleep also will be announcing a third goal, which is to reduce stigma for those living with narcolepsy. And that goal is so important to me as part of the package. So again, it's increasing the percentage of adults who have heard of narcolepsy to 80% by 2025, reducing the delays to proper diagnosis to 2 years by 2030, and reducing stigma. I would love to put a nice little number goal around the reducing the stigma, but there hasn't been any research about this. So can't really set a goal. I looked up and I found there's one really great small study about a portion of stigma in narcolepsy done by a wonderful woman in Chicago. So I've been in contact with her and talking about, can we even get some research going? But more importantly, to me, I think the stigma is pretty obvious. So the next step then is to figure out ways to reduce it through stigma reducing initiatives. So those are the three big goals that I'm really excited to announce here today. So I want to start by talking about awareness and some of what we'll be doing and some general tips for you guys as you go about your lives every day. But to start that conversation, I do think we should talk a little bit about stigma. So it's been a fascinating thing for me to learn about over the last couple of years. I love learning, thank God, because I just pour over the research and find there's whole other areas of things that I had no idea people were researching. So in the diabetes space and in the epilepsy space and depression and mental illness and mental health issues, there's a lot of research around stigma. And stigma can be kind of stratified into different types. So there's different ways and fancy words. I'm not going to go through the fancy words. I'm a little too tired for that. But there is kind of like two levels that we'll talk about, which is societal stigma and self-stigma. Okay? And there's, again, different words for those. But on the societal level, that is the stigma that's placed on you by other people, by walking through life, how people respond to you. And self-stigma is somewhat of your own feelings about your condition and how that affects you. So why that matters, I think, is because sometimes when you set a goal like reducing stigma you need to be clear whether that is our goal to reduce the stigma for people that are living with the condition, or is it to reduce societal stigma? And sometimes when you choose, that will affect how you message and what communications tactics you will choose. So I'm not explaining that great, but so when you get to awareness tactics, I want to share a few tips for you from one of my favorite books, which is Made to Stick. And this is by Chip Heath and Dan Heath. So I don't know if anyone has read this, but it is an amazing book. And if you are into communications and how to get people to understand your message, I highly recommend it. I will go ahead and give you the Cliff Notes version today, which is some of the really great ways that I found to reframe my story to help me be more effective in raising awareness. And one of the things that I think is really striking is that numbers are really hard for people to understand. So something like 200,000 Americans, what is that really? Like, have you ever seen 200,000 people in a room? Do you know how, like, does that seem more important to you than 350,000 people? Does it seem, less? It's somewhat hard for people to kind of picture. So that's why I like to try to use a messaging, something like you likely have a friend or a neighbor who has narcolepsy, because it makes it more immediate, and you can start picturing your friends and your neighbors in your head and think, that you realize, oh wait, I probably do know someone with narcolepsy, or even 50 to 70 million Americans. It's just really hard to understand. So I want to really look for ways to try to put that in some sort of context for people. You can do that by saying something like all the people that live in, as if a whole state, if it had a population around that size, something like that, quantifying those for people. Also, I really want to talk about stories. So I think we have a tendency when we think that we're going to raise awareness is that we're going to say facts and figures. And those are really, really important to have in your pocket and to be able to use, but do not forget about stories. That's the power of you guys. That's the power of patients and advocates and people living with the condition and their loved ones raising their voices. If we wanted to hear about facts and figures, you could look those up on websites as well. But how to use your story. So I'll be writing a post about this soon, but one thing that I think happens because we have to deal with narcolepsy or a sleep condition every single day, that it is somewhat, it makes sense to somewhat group your experiences and say, I'm tired every day, or my sleepiness came on in high school and every day the teacher was mad at me, or I started, taking naps after school. So what you've done there is you've taken, different days and you've kind of clumped it all together. And what I actually want to try to get people to think about is actually breaking that down and just go to the one day. So and it's somewhat hard because I know we don't have these distinct memories always, but if you can just choose one day. So I often start my presentations talking about one particular experience, and it was, kind of hard to figure that out exactly what it is, but for me, I say, one day when I was laughing at a joke with my roommate in my living room, my knees slightly buckled under me. So what that does is that somewhat helps you enter the bed, the listener, enter that space, enter the room mentally, and see my knees buckling. Okay? So instead of saying something like, every day in high school I was feeling tired, you say, the first time that I felt this really terrible sleepiness come on, I didn't know what to do, and I just opened the closest door to me and I went into the auditorium and just sat in a seat in the school auditorium and fell asleep there. So that's something to think about. is how to break down your stories into those singular experiences. And I think that will help people access your story better and create memorable moments. So I have the great honor this past year of reviewing all of the rising voices of narcolepsy. That's our Project Sleep's leadership program to train people on effective communication skills for telling their story either through speaking or writing. And when I got to review so many people's different presentations, of course I was invested in the process and was going to listen closely, but I gave myself a test of thinking, what really makes me want to listen? You know, what is it where I'm going, ooh, tell me more, you know? And so I started to pay attention to that. And it was often those little stories. If you have hypnagogic hallucinations and sleep paralysis, that's another really good one where you break it down to a singular experience. Instead of saying something like, oh, I started having nightmares of spiders and this and that, bring the person into a room with one particular experience. So for me, I do this with a burglar, saying, you know, one of the first nights I lived in this apartment, I heard this noise and I saw this man rush into my room and go for my neck as if he was going to strangle me, but I couldn't move. People are like, oh my God, that's so scary. And so that's just another example of bringing someone right into that particular experience. And so give it a try if that's not something that you've been doing. And again, I understand this is challenging because one of the biggest challenges about having a chronic illness is that it doesn't just go away. So it's not just singular experiences. It is every day, and I understand. But this is just a trick that I think will help in helping other people understand your experience. And then we can go to private Facebook groups or on Instagram messages and commiserate with each other over how this is every single day. So one of the other things that I wanted to mention as far as communications tips is analogies. So analogies can be really powerful for people. And so one of the analogies I always heard from my doctor, I believe, about narcolepsy was that for narcolepsy type 1, that the loss of hypocretin causes the switch between being conscious and being in REM, dream sleep, to go haywire. So that's an analogy because it's analogizing to a light switch, right? And so I've been using that. But recently, I actually started to realize I don't know how much I like this analogy because the experience of living with narcolepsy is actually that so much in between, right? It's not always that you're completely awake or completely asleep, right? But there's this gray area, right? Where our head's foggy and fuzzy and, we might be on the verge of cataplexy or we're on the verge of sleepiness, of falling asleep. And so that gray, I think, is missed with an analogy like a switch where it's just either on or off. So I was thinking, well, what's in between, between the two of being on and off of a switch? And so this is just a new idea I have, is that it's almost like a strobe light. Living with narcolepsy is almost like, instead of living with the lights on or the lights off, it's like a strobe light at times. It's kind of like otherworldly and that in between. So it's just a new idea. Thank you guys for your comments. It's really nice to see. Hi, Melissa. Oh, hi, Sean. One more thing is that people like to learn. And one of the, I think, surprising things about narcolepsy is that it's not just about sleepiness. So often when I tell people that I have narcolepsy, they say, oh, are you going to fall asleep right now? Or can you drive? And what I found is that those are just, I'm the expert on narcolepsy. You're the expert on narcolepsy. Usually the person you're speaking to, their knowledge base is like, of narcolepsy is probably like here. Your knowledge base is like here, and theirs is like down here. Okay. And so when they ask you a question, that's based on this knowledge base. That's not based on their actual, all the understanding you have of living with it and researching it and all that. So their questions probably not always the best liaison into a conversation about narcolepsy, an honest conversation. So one of the tips I always try to tell people is just forget what people ask you and just answer to however you want to describe it. It's not people's fault necessarily, right? I didn't know what narcolepsy, if someone had told me that they had narcolepsy before I knew what it was, I probably would have asked that dumb question too. So, but at least if someone is asking a question, they're trying to engage with you and they just don't know exactly how, and that's okay. So use that opportunity to then pivot into something that's, you know, more honest to your experience. So what I'll do is someone say, oh, are you going to fall asleep right now? I say, oh, well, actually, one of the most interesting things about narcolepsy for me is that my knees started buckling under me when I was laughing at jokes. People are like, what? Laughing at jokes? What does that have to do with sleep? And so that's an element of surprise, and they've just learned something. So that is a liaison I use to switch the conversation and just go into my actual experience and surprise them. People love surprise and they love learning. And one of the other things that people love learning about is REM dream sleep. So at some point early in a conversation, I usually try to mention that, you know, narcolepsy has to do with dream sleep, and how when at night when everyone goes to sleep, their body becomes paralyzed when they dream, so they don't act out their dreams because it would be dangerous. And that for me, living with narcolepsy, you know, that muscle paralysis of dream sleep is happening during the day with cataplexy. So people are like, oh my gosh, they've learned something about themselves, and then also learning something about you and about narcolepsy. Another great tip always is if anyone you know, ever says to you something like, oh, I told my mom about you, or, oh, I was telling my friend about you and about narcolepsy, ask them, follow up and say, oh, that's so great. What did you tell them? And that will help you. That's how I've learned what resonated with other people, as opposed to what maybe I thought was interesting about it, is hearing from other people. Oh, I was telling them about the whole thing about how you're paralyzed when you dream, and how in narcolepsy that's happening during the day. So that's just another little tip. And so as far as raising awareness with Project Sleep, so I'm going to share some of our programs that are going on and we'll be building this year especially. We will be putting out the announcement next week for the Rising Voices of Narcolepsy Leadership Program Year 2. Yay! And I don't know exactly if any of our current Rising Voices of Narcolepsy participants are on the broadcast, but I just have to tell you, it's been an incredible experience. I got to work with, we're getting a lot of thumbs up and hearts, so maybe you guys are on there. Heart back. Oh, Shannon's there. So the Rising Voices of Narcolepsy program, we launched as a pilot last year, and we've learned a lot, and we're really excited to do it for our second year. This summer, we'll be doing a speaking track and a writing track. Those will be the two opportunities. And this is really geared for people that feel like they are ready to be giving presentations or publishing articles in online publications like The Mighty, or journals, or, you know, Glamour, different online publications, and we'll help you try to find the best for your article. But this is, I think oftentimes when you feel like really excited about raising awareness, there's a great quote from Shannon, who is our Rising Voices of Narcolepsy program manager, how she felt like, and she already had given a few presentations before, but she wasn't quite sure if her message was resonating with people, and that the Rising Voices of Narcolepsy program really helped her give a framework for her story, and break down her experience into those little anecdotes that we talked about earlier in the broadcast, about finding those really particular stories to include, and also balancing that with the factual information, and using the platform of the program itself, Rising Voices of Narcolepsy, to be able to go out and say, yep, I'm a trained speaker, and I took this training with this cool nonprofit, and So, that helps, leveraging our reputation to help get you some speaking engagements as well. So thank you, Shannon, for participating. We've also had Grizel, who is in Florida, and she has given now 4 presentations. A few weeks ago, I want to say it was 2 weeks ago, Grizel was scheduled to go in and speak for a class at Florida International University in Miami. And she went in and spoke. And you know what? The professor invited her back to speak to another one of his classes the very next day. So if you ever wonder if your message is resonating, that is an example of someone saying, you are so good, I just want you to come and speak again for another class. So that's been really cool, and we're really excited to launch the second year. Look for the application. Next week we'll be putting out the application. You'll have about a month to fill out the application. I want you to spend some time with it. You'll have to include a resume and think about where you want to be speaking, where you want to be publishing. And so take your time with that. We give you about a month to apply, and those speaking and writing tracks will happen this summer. So I'll just show you, here is the workbook for the program, and very cool, included in the workbook are some beautiful drawings, illustrations by Elle, who many of you guys know is an amazing Australian advocate for narcolepsy. And we work together on creating these beautiful images that are in the workbook, but also available for Rising Voices of Narcolepsy participants to use when they are speaking and writing. So very cool. I love working with artists and designers and other people that have such cool skills and also live with narcolepsy and sleep disorders. So look for that announcement. I also wanted to mention the scholarship program. It's not necessarily, it is to raise awareness, but it's also to help fund scholarships for students with narcolepsy who are starting college. But it's a sneaky way of raising awareness, because what I love about this program is it's very positive to go to a school and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know about this scholarship opportunity for if you have any students with narcolepsy. And people are usually, oh, thank you. It's a very, oh, wow, wonderful to know. And then they might think, wait, how do I know if I have any students with narcolepsy? Do you know? Can you share more information about what that is? Oh, yeah, of course I can, And so that's one of my favorite parts about the program, because often I think with schools, there can be a lot of adversity and, it can be a very tense experience when a student has narcolepsy and schools don't know how to handle it, and there can be a lot of hurt feelings and a lot of negative situations. So the scholarship, I think, is a wonderful positive balance to that, and hopefully we can do more about schools so that experience is not so negative to begin with, because that's not fair. But regardless, please use the scholarship. Even if you aren't eligible or anything, take the application, print it out, and bring it to schools near you. So one thing I wanted to mention, we get a lot of questions about why the scholarship is only available for students that are starting their first year of college. So I just wanted to, let you know here, and I try to respond to as many comments and questions as we get about this. We get already, when we started this, we wanted to start small and sustainable so we can grow it with time. We're getting a lot of applications already. So although we have this narrow eligibility criteria that limits who can apply for it, we're already getting so many more well-deserving applicants. So let's say, over the last couple of years, we've given out about 10 scholarships, right? We're getting about 50 applications. And reviewing that is also a process. Each application we want to spend time and thought and energy with. And so we're reviewing those, and we're already turning away people that are really super well-deserving. So that's one of the harder parts that goes on a little bit behind the scenes, is that there have been people that I've had to say no to that you don't want to say no to. These kids just win my heart, and the other people that review these scholarship applications. And there's nothing worse than sending a letter to say we can't give you a scholarship, but you know, keep going, we're cheering for you. And no matter how positive you are about that, you know, no one wants to get a rejection letter. So I'm sorry. But we are going to keep the narrow eligibility criteria for right now, because we want to grow it. And if we had more funding available and we had, you know, more manpower to be able to review 500 applications or 1,000 applications, then we would love to open it and we'd love to extend it. And I generally try to ask people to be part of the solution and try to support what is available, because our options were either create something small and sustainable or don't create anything at all. And so we're going to start with small and sustainable. And thank you guys for taking part. This year is super exciting as well for the scholarship, because we are partnering with the Hypersomnia Foundation to provide a scholarship spot for a student with idiopathic hypersomnia. Yay! I'm so excited about this. So I am a huge fan of the Hypersomnia Foundation. If you guys aren't familiar with them, go over there right away afterwards and like their stuff. And it's a wonderful group doing wonderful work. And so when they approached me and Project Sleep about partnering on the scholarship this year, I thought it was a great idea. So we're very excited to be giving out a scholarship this year for a student with idiopathic hypersomnia, as well as scholarships for students with narcolepsy. So we have awareness, we have this event. Thank you guys for participating in the sleep-in. And we will be doing a lot more. You'll see more to come this year with these big, bold goals that I described at the beginning. We got a lot of work to do, so we'll be getting on that. But I think the major ways for getting involved are through the Rising Voices of Narcolepsy. And also make sure to check out Project Sleep's website. There's not a ton on there right now, but we have this beautiful infographic you guys might have, probably seen before. But feel free to share this today. It's a wonderful day to, be sharing this. It's on Project Sleep's website under resources. There's this, and there's an infographic about sleep health as well. And so this is a great resource to share. There's also the Narcolepsy Not Alone campaign and website, and there's fact sheets and different things to share there as well. Also check out other organizations that are doing really cool things, especially today. So Narcolepsy Network and Wake Up Narcolepsy both have some really great stuff going on and different initiatives. So check out what they're doing and share, different infographics, graphics, and different work that they're doing. So there's just a lot of great energy today. So thank you guys for participating in that. I'm going to talk a little bit about advocacy now. So we had a big win. Wait, I have to go. I'll be right back. I have to get it. I have to show it. Okay. So, as you guys might know, Project Sleep has been trying to do more advocacy recently. So, over this past year, we've partnered with the Sleep Research Society, which is a society for sleep researchers. So, if you were a sleep researcher, you'd probably become a member of that society, and they do different things for sleep researchers. And one of the things that's really important to them is making sure that there's federal funding for sleep research. Why is federal funding so important? Because it's one of the main sources of funding that's out there. This is true across all of the health space. So I used to work in pancreatic cancer, and they actually did a full study, and I'm sure something similar would happen if we actually had the time and energy and expertise to do a study like this. But in the pancreatic cancer space, I believe it was about 70% of funding for research for pancreatic cancer came from federal resources. That includes grants from NIH and also the Department of Defense and PCORI. There's different grant mechanisms that researchers apply to. So when we talk about research at NIH, we're not necessarily talking about researchers sitting at a campus at NIH. We're talking about the researchers across the country that are doing the best and the brightest and the greatest research. Okay? So a lot of that is funded by federal grants. So that's why that's so extremely important to both sleep researchers, but also to advocates and organizations like Project Sleep. So we had an exciting day on Capitol Hill this fall where I got to speak at a congressional briefing, and we brought a few patient advocates with us to take part in that and had a Hill Day. And it was a small pilot project to see how it goes, and we're hoping to continue and extend that over the next couple of years. But so we also did more recently a more specific effort for narcolepsy. So you might have seen me, pestering people and asking, "Here, do this, contact your member of the House of Representatives," because there is growing concern in the narcolepsy space that the researchers might not be as fully funded as they need to be. So that's a big concern, and that I got to work with experts through the Sleep Research Society, and so over the past year we developed a plan for addressing this. So I'd love to think that I could just knock on NIH's door and say, "NIH, excuse me, more money for narcolepsy research, please. This is really important." But the thing is that they don't exactly love that. They really do, though, have to listen to what Congress is asking them, because Congress funds NIH. That's part of the process. They set the funding levels every year. And so if Congress asks them, if they say, "Ding dong, excuse me, NIH, what's happening with narcolepsy research?" that's a little bit more effective. And so that's why we did this particular campaign, and I was really excited to get my Congressman Adam Schiff, who represents Los Angeles, right here where I live, and his office agreed to lead the effort. And so we put together, this great letter and asked other members of the House of Representatives to sign on to the letter, and that's where you guys played a huge role, and of going to your representatives, contacting them, emailing them, calling them. You guys were incredible. So we ended up getting 17 co-signers on the letter. It kind of fits beautifully onto 2 pages, and I'd like to say I'm kidding that I'm going to get this framed, but I probably will. It's super meaningful to me because we haven't had this kind of a specific effort for narcolepsy research in the 10 years that I've been involved through such an effective mechanism as this. So I've been involved in a lot of things, and I've gone to meetings, and I've participated on panels and done different things, and different things, they're all useful, but this should make a pretty important impact for our researchers. So we hope to hear back in a few weeks to a few months. That's what I've heard. Project Sleep will be sure to share the news of what NIH says is their the current size, scope, direction, and strategic vision for narcolepsy research for the future, and how they're going to be funding it. So, and of course, so you'll want to sign up for our, e-blast if you're not already, to get that information. And I also just wanted to mention too that if your representative isn't on this letter, it's okay. It doesn't mean also that you did anything wrong. There are many different reasons why different representatives didn't want to participate. Some of it has to do with what committees they sit on. Some of it, I don't know. Let's just say that doesn't mean if they didn't want to support this particular effort that they don't necessarily want to support everything that we might bring to the table. So try as much as possible to keep those doors open and keep in communication. When there are exciting announcements about research or about, even what you're doing with your awareness efforts, reach out again and say, hey, just me again, saying hi and wanted to share this exciting news with you, because we will have other asks in the future, and they might be something that they are more interested and able to participate in. So this is just really exciting. I wanted to mention also that Project Sleep's goals for advocacy, will have an announcement about this in the future once they get approved by our board of directors. But in general, we'll have 3 advocacy goals for Project Sleep, and those will be to ensure proper funding, federal funding for sleep and sleep disorders research. The second will be to ensure good drug development for people with sleep health and sleep related conditions. And the third thing will be ensuring that that there is good health care and health benefits for people that live with these conditions. So those are sort of the 3 areas. Some different organizations tend to have, some strategic goals like that. So when you look at our advocacy efforts, those will be the 3 things that they will be looking to address. I also wanted to mention something that helps me understand how different, there's a lot of different advocacy things happening, right? There's a lot going on in Washington these days, as you guys probably know. One thing that helps me understand is this idea of umbrella organizations. So something like narcolepsy is a very, like the letter that we just did, this was a narcolepsy research specific initiative. In the fall, our initiative wasn't just narcolepsy, it was sleep health and sleep disorders. So that's an umbrella. And Project Sleep is, in a sense, it is an umbrella organization about sleep health and sleep disorders. Okay? There's other ways, though, of umbrellaing things like narcolepsy or sleep apnea. So narcolepsy is also a rare disease. It's a large rare disease, but it's considered a rare disease. It's also a neurological disease. Okay? It's also a chronic disease. So these are, it's also invisible disease. So these are some of the different umbrellas in which narcolepsy can kind of be a part of. For sleep apnea, that's also a pulmonary disease. It's a disease of the lungs. So there's pulmonary groups that can feed into. So what I think is important to know about that is that those different things will have different policy agendas that go along with it. And so those are all, they're all, really great. You should just find what resonates with you. But something like, it's just good to explore. Just good to know that that Project Sleep will be doing stuff that's helping to fulfill, I think, a little bit of an unmet need of bringing the research message and some of the things that that sleep health and sleep disorders, they need a voice. This is a voice. But also, things for rare diseases, those need a voice. And there's people working on that. And neurological, that's an area that I haven't gotten super involved in actually. And but I will, there's just different ways that people group themselves. And so just something I wanted to mention. And let's see. I don't think I have anything else to say, really. I'm getting kind of sick of hearing myself speak. So I guess I will just thank you guys again for participating. I am just so grateful for you. A lot of at the heart of this is connecting with each other and empowering each other because, I do know, there was something else I wanted to say. This has to do with advocacy and awareness. And if you ever hesitate and think, should I do this? Should I, send out that first Instagram post saying that I have narcolepsy, or should I not? Those hesitations are all really natural. Okay. So for me, I know I'm super open and I'm, now, posting videos to the world and obviously wrote a book, and all that, but it's all a journey. And so you just have to look for your own comfort level with advocacy, with awareness. Just do what makes you feel comfortable and know that, it's just, you can take steps. as your comfort level goes. And I think that's just really important to know that you don't have to think that you're just going to be so out there and be telling the world and be talking about narcolepsy every single day. Just take small steps and see how it goes and see how you feel. It's important to find things that energize you. So if this work energizes you and, and makes you feel like your experience is more meaningful, I know that's been my experience, which I'm really excited for. But, find the causes and the efforts that make your life worth living and give you energy. Because at the end of the day, we need all the energy we can get. So thank you guys again for all of your efforts this weekend and every day for both caring for yourself, for your loved ones, and raising your voices for yourself and others as well. So I'm going to sign off for now, and I will see you guys on Twitter, hopefully. We'll have a Twitter chat at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time. And do not miss out tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, we have Stacy of CPAP Babes, who is an amazing lady. I am just so incredibly pumped to have her answer some questions about what it's like to live with sleep apnea and use CPAP. When I was reading about her experience, she was undiagnosed with sleep apnea for over 16 years. So a lot of the same problems that we often think these are just narcolepsy, they're not. That sleepiness is, their stigma against sleepiness is a huge problem as well. And so, I just can't wait to hear her experience. And I know that this will be really educational for me and for so many people. And that's going to be on Instagram Live. So she'll be taking over Project Sleep's Instagram and going live tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Remember also tomorrow night, we lose an hour of sleep. So that'll be kind of early for people, especially on the West Coast. But check that out. And then don't forget, we have DJ Faye, who will be spinning beats tomorrow night at 5 p.m. That's our grand finale event. If you haven't seen DJ Faye spin, you just got it. You just have to. You have to come check her out because she just gets you moving. So you'll be dancing in your bed, having a dance party, and it's just too much fun. You'll just be laughing out loud and smiling. And so definitely participate in what you can, have fun, and rest. Remember, this is about you. We're celebrating you. Thank you again. I will see you later. All right. Bye for now. Oops. Trying to finish it. It's not letting me. Well, it's just too good. It says you can't